David. This is Jack O'Connell with the Baseball Writers Association of America. I'm calling you from Cooperstown, New York, to let you know that the baseball writers have elected you to the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yes!
Hey guys, and welcome back to Anzo. In today's video, we're going to be talking about whether David Ortiz deserved to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's get into it. If you're a true Yankees fan, you know that there's a rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. Whenever I think of the Boston Red Sox, first I think about how much I hate them, and then secondly, I think about their players. The first one that comes to mind is David Ortiz. He's a first baseman, but for the majority of his career, he was a DH, a designated hitter. He's a 10-time All-Star that hit 541 home runs in his career, plus 17 home runs in the postseason. This guy was clutch for the Red Sox. In the 3 World Series championship runs with the Red Sox, David Ortiz posted a 1.372 OPS. That's crazy. You just wanted to avoid this guy. This guy was always going to hit a home run and give you trouble. And just as recently, he got into the Hall of Fame. Many people were speculating whether he would because of his past, but he did. He got in with a 77.9% of the vote. And this was his first time on the ballot. There's only a select few players that actually got in on their first try. We're talking about all-time greats like Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Roy Halladay, Chipper Jones, Ken Griffey Jr., Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, so many more. A lot of people were speculating that he might not even make it to the Hall of Fame was because of a 2003 failed PED test. Basically failing a test that you're cheating, that you have a substance in your body that's helping you be stronger, such as steroids, things like that. But back in 2003, it was just a screening test. David Ortiz basically volunteered to take the test as the MLB was ramping up to start its PED testing program. Basically, the league just wanted to do a screen testing of several different players to see what supplements they should ban. Basically, that test for David Ortiz was never intended to go public, and yet to this day we don't even know what exactly he tested positive for. And that test, since it was voluntary, it didn't carry any penalties. And this is what David Ortiz has to say about this situation. In some people's minds, I will always be considered a cheater, and that's some bull. Mark my words, nobody in MLB history has been tested for PEDs more than me. You know how many times I've been tested since 2004? More than 80. They say these tests are random. If it's really random, I should start playing the damn lottery. Some people still think the testing is a joke. It's no joke. 10 times a season, these guys come into the clubhouse or my home with their briefcases. I have never failed a single one of those tests, and I never will. And it's true, David Ortiz didn't fail a test after that. And I'm sure it could be so annoying to have these guys just coming with briefcases and just being like, hey, we gotta test you now. But that's what the MLB has to do. Especially at that time, there was a lot of players trying to get around it. So they had to do random tests. Let's see what else David Ortiz had to say. Most guys were taking over-the-counter supplements. If it's legal, ball players take it. But back in early 2000s, you'd go into GNC and the guy working there would say, hey, take this stuff. It's great. It builds muscle, helps with soreness, burns fat, whatever. Okay, sure, I'll take that. I'm buying an over-the-effing counter supplement in the United States of America. I'm buying this stuff in line next to doctors and lawyers. Now, all of a sudden, MLB comes out and says there's some ingredient in GNC pills that have a form of steroid in them. I don't know anything about it. If you think I'm full of it, go to your kitchen cabinet right now and read the back of a supplement bottle. And honestly, tell me, you know what all of this stuff is. I'm not driving across the border to Mexico buying some shady pills from a drug dealer. I'm in a strip mall across from the Dunkin' Donuts, bro. MLB does have a weird way of dealing with these type of situations. If you look at how the MLB has dealt with the sticky stuff, meaning the substance that the pitchers have been using to get more spin rate on the ball, meaning more strikeouts and the influx of no hitters that occurred last season, to then the MLB saying, hey, if anyone uses any sort of substance, you're cheating, making all the other players that were using, players like Garrett Cole, look like cheaters because they were using a substance that was legal back before MLB decided, hey, no, this is illegal. But I don't blame David Ortiz. I mean, it makes sense. And those pills have certain ingredients, then, hey, could you blame them? But then again, too, you got to look at some other players that also use that excuse, saying, oh, no, yeah, I mean, it must have been something I took, or my trainer was probably giving me something, you know? So can you really believe them? I feel like I'm leaning towards believing David Ortiz, but let's keep reading into this. They used our test to figure out what should be considered a performance enhancer. Okay, fine. Great. Clean it up. I love it. If you catch someone taking PEDs now that we all know the rules and have been educated about what's in these supplements, forget 25, 50 games, suspend them for an entire year. I don't care because I'm not doing it. You know, from 2003 up, that was really when his career started taking off, and a lot of people didn't know what exactly caused that. So they could look at that failed test and say, oh, well, this is it. He found a way to get around the testing, and he's using PEDs. But this was his response to the haters saying, hey, look, why did you change so drastically in your performance? If it's not PEDs, what is it? And this is what he had to say. Physically, I was always a bull, but I learned to play the game with my head and my heart and my balls. I got smarter. I got mentally tougher. I became a great hitter because of my mental preparation. This is a thinking man's game. You can be the strongest dude alive, and you're not going to be able to hit a sinker with 40,000 people screaming at you. That's really what makes me mad when I think about the way I will be remembered. They're not going to remember the hours and hours and hours of work in the film room. They're not going to remember the BP. They're not going to remember me for my intelligence. Despite all I've done in the game, I'm just the big DH from the Dominican. They turn you into a character, man. But I understand where David Ortiz is coming from. I mean, especially in this next point, it really shows his personality, that you just know yourself. It doesn't matter what other people are saying or thinking of you. At the end of the day, you know your true self. And that's what David Ortiz is trying to get through. Let me tell you something. Say whatever you want about me. Love me, hate me, but I'm no bullshit. I've never knowingly took any steroid. If I tested positive for anything, it was for something in pills I bought at the damn mall. If you think that ruins everything I've done in this game, there's nothing I can say to convince you different. And when asked about the Hall of Fame, this is what David Ortiz had to say. Hell yes, I deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I've won 3 World Series since MLB introduced comprehensive drug testing. I've performed year after year after year. But if a bunch of writers who have never swung a bat want to tell me it's all for nothing, okay, in 75 years, when I'm dead and gone, I won't care if I'm in the Hall of Fame. I won't care if a bunch of baseball writers know the truth about who I am in my soul and what I have done in this game. I care that my children know the truth. It's true. At the end of the day, baseball is just a game, but David Ortiz had to say this back in 2015, and really it's something that shows to me today that David Ortiz is no bullshitter. He's someone that's going to give you the truth. We can't say that for many other players before, but for some reason, even though there's that rivalry between the Yankees and the Red Sox, and David Ortiz will always be a forever Red Sox, I kind of believe the guy. He got in with 307 votes, but does that mean Big Papi deserved to get in his first try? I don't think so. I think David Ortiz should have been maybe second, third, and that's about it. Not first. He got the most votes at 307, yet I feel like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and even A-Rod deserved to get more votes. If it were up to me, I would rather have Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens get into the Hall of Fame, especially this being their last year on the ballot. These guys were incredible. You're talking about Barry Bonds. You're talking about someone that I would watch SportsCenter to just see the highlights at the end, just to watch him hit his home runs at 701, 702, 7, and it was just exciting. Even though the guy supposedly is a bad personality, bad clubhouse friend, all this stuff, and off the field and as a coach wasn't the best, and all this stuff shouldn't matter. The guy hit home runs. Yes, he had steroids and things like that, and whatever the case is, but there should be an asterisk around that, because at the end of the day, a lot of players were doing it. It just wasn't Barry Bonds. Bonds. And the MLB allowed it. The MLB wanted excitement, especially after that lockout in the 90s and baseball was done and dead. McGwire, Sosa, they revived baseball. And they were using so much steroids. And MLB knew it. But they allowed it so that baseball can come back alive again and fans could come out to see the home run competition. So could you blame players for using steroids and saying, hey, look, McGwire, Sosa are using it. Why not me? I need the edge. But yes, after it was implemented that these are illegal to use, then yeah, if you get caught after that, that's bad. Yes. But does that mean that they weren't the best players, even without the illegal substances? For me, David Ortiz did not deserve to get in first ballot. Barry Bonds should have been it, and Roger Clemens should have gotten in this year. Barry Bonds got 260 votes, and Roger Clemens got 257. These were the highest amount of votes that they've ever gotten, and they were so close. At 66% and 65.2%, they failed to reach that 75% threshold. But A-Rod has another 9 years on the ballot, so he has a good chance of actually getting on there. If you think about it and you see how it's trending, baseball writers, you never know. They might just actually later down the road, 5 years down the road, because steroids are starting to become more and more accepted, that's what happened in baseball history, and we cannot erase that. So why not have an A-Rod in the Hall of Fame? We have had players that have done worse things in their life in the Hall of Fame. And I feel like their personality shouldn't determine if they should be in the Hall of Fame. It's all about the numbers. And all of these players have the numbers. It doesn't matter if they have a certain political view. It doesn't matter if they were just a horrible, disrespectful person on the field, in the clubhouse. And at the end of the day, put an asterisk around it. Do whatever you want to do to make yourself feel better. These guys deserve it. And for me, in my books, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, those guys are Hall of Famers. David Ortiz is a very likable guy. If you've seen him on TV, you want to be his friend. He makes you laugh on TV. He's a cool guy. I don't doubt it. But did he deserve to be the first ballot Hall of Fame? I don't think so. I think Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and even A-Rod should have been there first. What do you think of the Hall of Fame? Do you guys think it's a popularity contest now? Or how do you feel about how it's actually executed with the baseball writers getting votes? And do you agree with it? Do you even care about the Hall of Fame anymore? Let me know in the comments below. And not to mention if there's even an argument between having a designated hitter versus a position player. I feel like a position player is a harder thing to do. You have to field and bat and excel. That's where I feel like Alex Rodriguez has an edge over David Ortiz. But not saying that designated hitter isn't hard to be sitting down for most of the game and then get up and hit. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to discredit David Ortiz. But I would say at the end of the day, having someone that can field and hit is more impressive than someone that can just sit and hit. But let me know what you guys think down below. If I earned your like, make sure to smash that like button like Giancarlo Stanton did against the Red Sox with that grand slam. And make sure to use code Anzo, A-N-Z-O, on SeatGeek to get $20 off your first purchase. That means $20 off any sporting event or really any concerts or things like that around your area. Who wouldn't want to save money? Make sure to use my code so you can save some money. Make sure to follow me at Anzo Media on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe for more content. I come out with Yankees and baseball content. If you want to binge watch more Yankees or baseball content in general, make sure to check these out right here. I have a playlist and a video that's best suited for you. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys. You were watching Anzo, and I'll see you guys next time.